there. I'm Cindy Linden, and this is a Cookalong podcast quick bite. I am one of the people, and I think there are many of us, who regard white chocolate as a waste of space on Earth. Maybe that's a little extreme. But for lack of a better way to describe it, it always seems like white and chocolate are oxymorons. They don't go together. And why would you bother with white chocolate? And why would you call it chocolate? Etc., etc., etc. But about a week ago, I found a recipe that I really wanted to try, which I will be posting here next week, for blueberry and white chocolate cookies. And in order to make them, I needed the white chocolate. I considered some other options and decided I should make it the way that it was created. And that required some research into white chocolate chips, because I have never ever cooked with them before, because they seem a waste of pantry space to me when I could put good chocolate in something instead. Now, I know there are some recipes like this one, for instance, that are better with white chocolate, like white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. The white chocolate in there is lovely, and I have eaten those from a bakery, but as I said, I've never baked with it before. So I started doing some research and discovered that many of the places that do blind taste tests on such kinds of things decided they preferred white baking chips rather than white chocolate chips. The difference is that white baking chocolate have actual cocoa butter in them, and white baking chips generally do not. They are usually made with palm kernel oil, and I have both health and ecological concerns about palm oils in things, and so I dismissed those, even though some of the taste tests said they were really good. They're essentially vanilla baking chips made with palm oil and sugar and weird stuff that you might not want to know. And I decided what I was going to do. So I have made these cookies. I will just tell you I've made these cookies. And in choosing the kind of white chocolate, really looked for something that I could get on my grocery store shelf that had only cocoa butter in it and not palm oil. And now that I have done that, and because they were so good, I want to do that again, I thought it would be worth my time to do some taste testing of my own on white chocolate. So I've bought a bunch of different kinds of white chocolate, and I'm about to test them with you. Keep in mind as you listen that what you're hearing is coming from the mouth of somebody who does not like white chocolate. For someone who actually likes white chocolate, they might feel completely different about all of these. I have a picture of them on my website. You can see the bags that I tested, and also I wrote on each bag where I found them. But let me tell you my criteria for these chips that I'm testing. They had to have real cocoa butter in them. They needed to have no palm oil in them. And I made a mistake on those two things on one of these, and I'll tell you about it when I get there. They needed to be affordable, like in the normal price of regular chocolate chips. And believe me, some white chocolates are way beyond that, sky high above that, crazy high. So I wanted them affordable, and I wanted them findable. In other words, we could all kind of go to our local grocery store and find them and not have to get them online or at some bizarre specialty store or whatever. So the ones that I used the other day when I made the cookies, which will be on the website next week, thecookalongpodcast.com, along with photos and the ingredient list, but it's not there yet because I have to make them again once I decide which of these chocolate chips that I like the best. The ones I used last week came from Whole Foods. They are called 365 Whole Foods Market Mini White Chocolate Chips. They are so tiny. They're about the size of a whole peppercorn. They would be more appropriately called micro chips, except, of course, that means something completely different. I liked the flavor of these in the cookies. However, they're so small that they aren't really noticeable. They become part of the sort of general cookie flavor as opposed to being bits of something that explodes in your mouth as different. So I wanted to try something different. But that's where I'm going to start my taste test. And because they're so small, I'm going to eat 2 of them instead of 1. Okay, they're very creamy. And they're nice texture, and they're a little bit vanilla-y. Not overwhelmingly so. I really do have kind of a, I don't know, a je ne sais quoi about them. I couldn't identify them as vanilla, but that's as close as I could get. Maybe a little caramely flavor. Whole Foods, in case you didn't know, is owned by Amazon, and so you can get these at Amazon. And if you like little tiny chips, that's the kind of a fun way to go. I'm working here to get one out of the next bag. This is Private Selection, which is a Kroger thing. It's called white chocolate chips. Oh, I should have told you, the ingredients on the first one, the first 4 ingredients, cane sugar, cocoa butter, whole milk powder, and non-fat dry milk. And then there's some vanilla at the end. There's only like 6 ingredients, okay? These, the Private Selection one, sugar, cocoa butter, whole milk powder, non-fat dry milk, butterfat, and then the vanilla extract again is at the end. This is only about 7 ingredients because it added the butterfat. So I'm going to taste that one now. Wow. Not as creamy and really, really sweet. Wow. Wow. Really sweet, and actually not as vanilla-y as the 365 from Whole Foods. That's interesting to me. Okay, there's another one from Kroger. It's also a store brand. It's their organic line called Simple Truth white chocolate chips. The ingredients on this one are organic cane sugar, organic cocoa butter, organic whole milk powder, organic non-fat dry milk, and then organic vanilla extract is at the end. In the middle between all of these is organic soy lecithin. They all have that. It's an emulsifier. It helps bring it together. That is the other ingredient in all the ones that I've done so far. So again, it doesn't have a ton of ingredients in it. I didn't get this one open far enough. There we go. The Private Selection ones were kind of flat chips. These look like standard chocolate chips, except they look like they were poured. I mean, they're not uniform. They look like a dollop, like somebody squirted it onto a paper. Yeah, they're all different. Oh, I kind of like that. Okay, so here's the taste test. Yeah. No. Wow, weird. Okay, creamy like the mini white chocolate chips. Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, creamy like the 365. Sweet, kind of like the Private Selection. There's a weird flavor to these. I can't identify it. It's, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the cocoa butter. Maybe it's the cocoa butter. I mean, there's almost a tiny reminiscence of chocolate to them. I'm just realizing that it may not help me to do this taste test because I'm not going to know how they taste in the cookies without actually doing that. Well, anyway, all right. Now, the last actual chips I have, they were my mistake. And it's because I had read about them and wasn't paying enough attention because I liked the description. They are from Guittard. They're called Choc au lait gourmet white baking chips. And that should have been the tip-off. It didn't say white chocolate. It says white baking chips. So the ingredients on this one are different. This should have been eliminated, but I really wanted to test it. So the first ingredient is cane sugar. The next ingredient is palm kernel and palm oils. Damn it. Didn't mean to do that. And cocoa butter. And then non-fat milk. And then milk fat. And then sunflower lecithin. And Tahitian vanilla. And the reviews on this suggested that it was a little caramely and tasted really nice. And that's what I was paying attention to. That and the Tahitian vanilla, which is a really rare kind of vanilla. If you want to learn about vanillas, by the way, I did a Quick Bite podcast about vanilla not too long ago. You can find that on any of your podcast listening apps and also on my website. It's called What's the Best Vanilla? And I did it after I had visited a vanilla farm, so there's a lot of fun information in there. All right, since I bought this and I have this whole bag, I am going to taste test it, even though it has palm oil in it, which kind of weirds me out. But, okay, this is a lot harder. That's probably what the palm oil does. It makes it a lot harder. Very sweet, and yes, it has a kind of caramely flavor. I like the flavor. The vanilla is nice, but it's got a weird aftertaste. Yeah, very weird aftertaste that tastes like something that shouldn't be there. I want to say plastic. That's not really it, but it's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, so those are out. Out, out. Not doing that again. Wow. Okay, now I bought also 3 bars of white chocolate. The first one is actually a baking bar. It's by Ghirardelli, and I think this is probably not too hard to find. Mine came from Kroger. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the Guittard I just tasted, if you want to try it, I got that at a place called Winco. It's not quite a warehouse store, but kind of open framework like that. And it was the only place I could find it, so it probably should have been eliminated also because it's a little hard to find. But maybe you would have it somewhere near you if you wanted to try it. Okay, now back to the Ghirardelli. The ingredients are sugar, cocoa butter, non-fat dry milk, milk fat, the soy lecithin, and the vanilla extract. So it's about the same, except it doesn't have the whole milk in it. And I'm just trying a little corner of it here. Yeah. Ooh. That's nice. That's nice. The vanilla is really nice. The texture is maybe a little crunchier, harder than... No, it's actually pretty creamy. That's very nice. I like the flavor of that one best so far. You know what? I'm going back to test the 365 because that's the other one I like the flavor of. That's these little tiny things. Huh. No. I like the Ghirardelli white baking chocolate better. Oh yeah, the flavor's just really good. Okay. I have 2 more here. They are actually candy bars, but there's no reason you can't bake with candy bars. These both came from Kroger. It's where I usually shop when I'm not at Trader Joe's or someplace. This is made by Lindt, Lindt. It's their classic recipe white. And I know that people use it for baking because sometimes eating chocolate is better tasting because they work harder at it than baking chocolate. Sometimes it's best to cook with a candy bar. So here's the Lindt. And the ingredients are sugar, cocoa butter, milk, skim milk, the lecithin, and artificial flavor. Bingo. Yeah, it definitely tastes different. I think it would be good if you liked white chocolate just to eat. But the vanilla is definitely a different flavor, and it doesn't even say that it's artificial vanilla. It just says artificial flavor. It's fine. It's not nearly as good as the Ghirardelli baking chocolate. All right, and here's the last one. And I bought this just because it looks really cool. It's a private selection bar from Kroger called White Chocolate Blonde with rich toasted notes. It's a Swiss bar. And this is the only chocolate I have here with cocoa butter as the first ingredient. Sugar is the second ingredient, then dry whole milk, and then something called caramel sugar. And then whey powder, the lecithin, and natural flavors. Natural flavors, at least it's not imitation like the Lindt, but it does not say what the natural flavors are. It's a kind of a golden color. It's beautiful. Looks like a can of condensed milk, a little bit golden. Oh. Wow. Oh my, that's really different. Oh. I see what they mean by toasty nuts. Toasty nuts. No, toasted notes. The reason I said that is because it actually does remind me of what happens when you toast an almond. It's got that toasted flavor to it. I like that a lot. Would I bake with it? Maybe, but maybe. Yeah, wow. That's really good. I almost feel like it would be a waste to bake with it. But how is that a waste? Because that goodness is going to actually go into what I'm baking, right? Okay, so the Lindt is meh. The Simple Truth Organic from Kroger is okay. The Kroger white chocolate chips were way too sweet. And the Guittard we're leaving out altogether, right? The Whole Foods is fine, but I think they're too small. You can't tell there are chips in the cookies. In anything, I'm thinking they're so small that they're going to mix in as part of the dough rather than their own entity. So that's a strike against that one. So my two favorites here, Ghirardelli's Premium Baking White Chocolate, which I think is probably available in many, if not most, grocery stores. Like I said, I got it at Kroger. And the Private Selection White Chocolate Blonde Swiss Bar. Those are both really good. Now this, keep in mind, is coming from somebody who does not believe in such a thing as white chocolate. Who's always believed it was a waste of time, energy, counter space, grocery store shelf space. At an advanced age, I'm deciding I might be wrong about that. Oh, wow, I just cleaned up a piece of the Lindt. L-I-N-D-T, not Lindt. It was there on the table, and I tried it, and again, yeah, it's not good. I think it's not good. Keep those recommendations, or my thoughts anyway, in mind as you listen to next week's podcast, which will be the blueberry and white chocolate chip cookies, which I'm really excited to share with you. They are extraordinary. They're really wonderful, and it's blueberry season, and that makes it a great time to make them with fresh blueberries that you don't know what else to do with, as if there is such a thing as not knowing what to do with blueberries. We'll see if this test inspires me at all in any way to find other things to make with white chocolate chips. It still seems to me kind of a waste of space in the ingredients if you have actual chocolate. So I may not have been that far persuaded. But I do like the flavor of these. I just have to think of them as not chocolate. If they're not chocolate, then I think they're fine. They just shouldn't call it chocolate. Even though it has cocoa butter in it, they should come up with some other word. I really think it would be fun for you to do your own taste tests. But meanwhile, if you want to take my word for it, go out and get some of this kind you have to cut up. I really think that in the cookies, the best one is going to be the Ghirardelli. Go pick some up so you can bake cookies with me next week. And so until then, happy cooking. Hey, just as a quick follow-up, I just put a couple of friends through the exact same taste test that I just did with you guys. These are both people who don't believe in white chocolate, would rather have regular chocolate any day. And they agreed with me down the line on the weird things about each one of them, except one of them really liked the little tiny 365 from Whole Foods Best. And neither of them really liked the Ghirardelli white chocolate that I told you I think is the best one for baking. They both really liked the white chocolate blonde candy bar from Private Selection. And I got to say, the more I eat of that, the more I like it. In fact, I think I would actually eat this as a candy bar. Isn't that weird? I would actually eat this just because it tastes good. And I am eager to see what it tastes like in those cookies. It's really nice. But anyway, for what it's worth, there's somebody else's evaluation. Just wanted to share.